Hey everyone, mould making, easy peasy. I've been asked how to make a taller mould when you've got one of these frames. People keep asking about awkward shapes and awkward sizes. And here we go. So let's clear some of that up. This is a standard mould making frame. This particular one is from Let's Resin. The Nick Pro one is practically the same, so all the parts are interchangeable. Now the problems that I have when I use one of these, well, when I'm trying to make moulds generally, is finding the exact right size that I'm after. If I use like just a yogurt pot or something to make my mould in. So these mould frames seem like a fab idea. The only technical hitch with them is that they only do pieces of this size. So very often I'd end up with a piece that size in the middle, and I'd end up with a whopping big mould when I only needed a small mould because it's just frankly a waste of silicone. I set about making half-size pieces for myself. I then put a thing out on YouTube saying, anybody be interested in these if I get them in my store? And a lot of people said yes. As you can see, they're a half-size piece, which means you're seeing this from above, so you can see better than me. Hang on, let's turn it upside down. That means there's just a thin wall of the silicone around my piece rather than loads, which will make it easier to demold and use a lot less silicone. So all good. It's just about right for that one. Now the height is clearly an issue, so we're going to build on up, and I'll show you how we do that. So yeah, they're 3D printed. I did talk to some of the manufacturers at the time, and they weren't too fussed about producing something like this, so I thought about talking to a friend with a 3D printer. Now what you can do then, if you're going to build upwards, promised awkward shapes and sizes, here we go. You can turn your Let's Resin mould former upside down and do that, so we can build up. Now there are some mould frames out there that have got a top and a bottom, like this one. We are considering making some of the half-size ones for these as well. Personally, I'm not quite as keen because you haven't got that sort of width there. They do work, they're fine. In fact, the pieces are sort of compatible with these. You can put them in there, you're just going to end up with a step. But yeah, I'm just not a fan. I feel like if there's more width here, you've got more of a seal. So if you want to, you can turn it upside down and do that. These automatically have a top and a bottom though, so if you wanted to leave your second tier up the other way, you could use these to fix them. Is this making sense? Probably not. So that's probably what I'll actually be doing. I'm just wanted to show you that if you wanted to, you could turn your frame upside down and use those two lips to stick them together. That does mean the lip you haven't got a lip at the bottom though. So what I tend to do is leave them up the way they're supposed to be, and then we use these as kind of an adapter to make them stick together, the two layers. Am I talking total rot? I'm making sense to me. Well, sort of. It's all about these lips, you see. So we're just going to go around, hold them together with the clips like this to make our complete frame. Obviously there's a point at which you don't want your silicone to be too thin, otherwise it's just going to tear. But that thickness should be okay for the silicone that I use because it's extremely soft and bendable and just pretty tough as well. So what I want to do is I push these clips on as far as they will go. Make sure they're in tight because that gives you a better seal. Keep going assembling the top one. So 3D printer chap who produces these for me had some of my original pieces from this set and from that green double-sided set. So he had those off me to do some measuring and making sure they work and all that malarkey, so we know that they do. Now we're going to need to stick the two tiers together, aren't we? Now, because obviously I've left these up the right way, there's only going to be the bits where these half-size pieces meet that will work to hold it together. So we can get a smaller clip that just fits tightly into that join, and done. So we're going to do that all the way around. So you need to get these up the side a bit just to make room for a small clip, unless you've got some smaller clips. I've just got these from a stationery shop. And then what I suggest is just go around and put some extra clips on, because you want these pieces to be stuck together as tight as you can. So we can now push these back down. Now, of course, if you happen to be able to find a plastic tub of some sort that's the right sort of size, you don't need to worry about this malarkey, do you? But if you go around, have a quick look, make sure there's no gaps. That one looks like it might be a bit of a gap, so just push it down, give it a little bit of a jiggle about. Frankly, the more clips the better, so just keep going till you run out of clips. That's what I tend to think. There we are. That all looks pretty good. It's sealed pretty tight, hasn't it? Good. Now, there's lots of different ways of doing the base. These mould frame kits come with some double-sided tape that you can stick things down with. I didn't find it very good. What I've ended up with is this messiness that I just can't get off. So, different alternatives. You could stick it down with some... stick it onto... You can stick it down with a glue gun. You can stick it down onto transfer tape. The resin tape's pretty good as well. So let's use that today, simply because I haven't done that on a video yet. If I can get it off the roll, that is. Okay, so this is actually quite a nice and easy way to do things. Just take a piece of the tape. Now you'll notice I'm also working into a little cheap plastic tray. Now the reason for that is simply that if you do get any escape, it's easier to clean. So we're just taking some, so this is just your normal resin tape, but it is a big wide one. And it's the Let's Resin one. There. But you could probably use packing tape or anything. Or of course you could just use the stuff that actually comes with the kit, which is a double-sided one, so it'll stick it down to your work surface as well. Anyway, we're just doing it like this, and I'm going to trim off the excess just because it'll get on my nerves. Simple as that. No science, just annoyance value. There we are. Ooh. Right, so what that's done, hopefully, just go around, make sure it's sealed nicely. Now, like I said, if you happen to be lucky enough to be able to find like an old yoghurt pot or a Tupperware tub or something like that, or a paper cup that's the right size for your mould, you don't have a problem. But the question was, what if you've got an extra tall piece or an awkward shape, what the hell do you do? Now, just to make sure I've got that seal, I'm going to put just a little bit of silicone in the bottom first and see what happens. Silicone I'm using is my usual favourite, and that is the one from Let's Resin. I like it because it's nice. One, it's easy to use because it's it's fun, isn't it? Because it's a one-to-one, and two, it cures translucent, which is handy in case you're ever going to need to use ultraviolet with it. And also, it's just really soft and squishy yet durable. It's just really, really nice and easy to work with. And I've got moulds that are years old and they're still going strong. So the idea is just pour in a layer first to make sure it's... But first of all, we're going to put our little pot in, because that surface down there is going to be the top of the mould eventually. Now, make sure you get this really well centred, especially if you're cutting it a bit fine with where the sides are. Obviously, you don't want this touching the sides because you need silicone all the way around. So get it as central as you can. The reason I'm doing this little pot is because I actually need a pot. I'm going to be doing soon a collaboration video for the washi tape shop, because they're sending me some stuff for their back to school range, and what I'm thinking is a desk set. So we're just putting a bit of silicone in first, see what happens, make sure it's sealed and that we're not going to end up with silicone everywhere. I'll pour some in the middle too. This is just a little plant, the cute little plant pot I got from a garden centre. We're going to leave that for a few minutes and see if that is okay and it doesn't leak. And if it doesn't, then we'll go ahead and straight top it up. Now, the other one, this is another awkward mould shape. I don't know what pieces I'm going to use here, but I am going to use the other frame making kit I've got, because I think I'm running out of... Yes, I've run out of corners for this kit. I think with this one, actually, the full-size pieces are going to be okay anyway. And, of course, we don't need to layer it up. Because it's shallow, but this is just the cutest little candle pot. I just thought it was quite adorable. Now, what we're going to have with both of these, if you probably noticed, they're both matte finish, which then does mean that we'll get a matte finish piece out of it. So this mould making frame, I can't remember where I got it from, to be honest. Again, I've had it for a long time. Like I said, I don't use it as much. I don't think it was that much cheaper than the Let's Resin ones. I just quite like the fact that it had got the lip at the top and the bottom, so you can stack them up. That's my thing with this one. So that's why I got it. And because I wanted to see, you know, is it any good at all? And feedback to you guys, of course. There's one thing I did notice with this one. It's got these little pips here and there, and it's where they've been injection moulded. And the trouble is, they're in the joins. Can you see? I need to sand them off, but it does mean you don't get quite as good joins with this one. It does work. You just have to put it with a little bit of seepage between the pieces of the frame, that's all. Like I said, these bits are compatible with it too. You'll just have a step in the outside of the mould. If there is demand, if a lot of people have got these frames, then I'll be quite happy to get some of these ordered up as well. So, Tracy, you might say, you promised us a video on awkward shaped moulds. What's awkward about this one? Well, what's awkward about this one is this lip. That is going to make it that bit harder to demold, but we'll see. And also, this has got a hole in the bottom. Now, what I would normally recommend is that you fill that hole up with something. You know, stuff it full of resin or Ecopore or something. You can get as they float up. So there's two things to do here. First of all, because this is hollow, this is the awkward shape thing. You've got a lip that we need to make sure works, and we've got the fact that it's hollow. So first of all, let's get our little mould frame edge taped up. And I'll show you what we do about that hollow. Okay, so what we're going to do here then, by the way, sorry if my lighting's all a bit screwy, I hate shutting the sun out. Yes, so what we're going to do here then, first of all, is check that that size-wise is okay. Next is we're going to put something inside there. And what I'm going to do is mix up just a bit of Ecopore. You could use anything, to be honest. Plaster or more resin, anything. But we're just going to fill that up. What I would say is don't avoid filling it with plasticine, because plasticine and silicone don't like each other. If you use plasticine around it, it just won't cure. You get like a horrible sticky mess. You know, I just thought I'd use Ecopore just because it's so darned quick. And you know me, I've always got some Ecopore on the go. Now we're going to want to make sure the bottom of this is nice and clean. So we'll give it, once this is dried, we'll give it another wipe over anyway. Because obviously we're going to want a clean fix down onto the tape. Oops. It doesn't have to be completely full either, really. I'm just being fussy. Just to give it the weight so there isn't air inside it, that's all. Right. So as we can see, this one isn't leaking out. I'm just thinking I'll give it half an hour to let the silicone solidify a bit. Because then that'll all just add to the seal, won't it? And then by that time we'll have got this cured up too. So, sorry, just thinking out loud. So I'll have a little clear up and I'll go and have a cup of tea and I'll come back and we'll fill them up. Ecopore probably only needs half hour at most. It's really warm here too today. We're having one of what we call a heat wave in the UK. In that it's a bit warm for a day. That's what a heat wave is in the UK. Am I right, Brits? Am I right? Just long enough for us to start moaning and try to find all the fans out of the cupboard that we've forgotten we've got and that sort of thing. Okay, so I've started filling them up. This one I've part filled it, just making sure we've got no leaks before we go any further. I'm half expecting leaks through the joins because that silly way they've got the injection mould point in those joins. However, if you want to go up 2 or 3 stories of your make, then the fact that it's got the lip top and bottom is quite good, so it does have its merits. It's not one that I actually recommend. The Let's Resin one and the Nick Pro one, if you look down in the video description below, I do have discount codes for you. The other link you might need is these half-size pieces. That's just from my store, but I'll put all the links down below for you. And there is a whole raft of discount codes further on down the video description. So do have a look and see what else you can take advantage of. Same with the silicone. It's from Let's Resin. I do love using it, so you've got a discount code for that as well. Right, I'm just going to carry on filling these up. As you can see, I've now filled this halfway up the pot, and then I'll see you for the demold. And then what we'll do, we'll chuck some resin or Ecopore or something in both of these and just see if the molds work. See you later. Okay, so there we are, we filled them up. Now, one thing I forgot to do, and normally I would do this while I just got a bit of silicone that was almost secured in the bottom of that pot, was to put a bung in it. Okay, and the purpose of that is just so that we can pull that out afterwards and it'll create like a void in the middle, which will make it, anything we make in there, easier to demold, and also, again, it saves a load of silicone. So, always worth putting bungs in. This one's just filled up, there's no leaks really. There's a couple of bits where I've dribbled and spilled, so don't be distracted by those, but there actually are no leaks. So, let's see what happens when this is all ready then. See you later. Right, it's only been a couple of hours. This silicone does cure fast, it really does. But it's also extremely warm in this room today. So that's sped things up somewhat. So let's get both of these out. First things first. Actually, we can get rid of the trays now. So first things first, just pull all the little clips off. So you can see there's a little bit came out here and there. But considering that isn't a proper seal round here, it's only held together by the clips I'd put where those little spacer ones were. I think that's pretty good actually. Right, so let's get all the plastic off first. And we'll try to see, you don't get much come out between the layers with the proper ones. Proper, let's see, the known brand ones. Say, not even much between the tiers, which without this spacer arrangement that'd be a bit tricky to do. Because like I said, you could turn the bottom one up the other way, so you got the two seal lips together, but then you wouldn't have the lip at the bottom for the seal. So, yeah. So this was, I think, a good idea. You're welcome. Like I said, I did talk to the manufacturers about making these spacers. Well, I spoke to Let Resin, but they didn't think that it was something that was really going to be on their radar for producing. So I thought, well, we'll make some then. Because it's something I needed myself, so. Take the tape off the bottom, as you can see, it comes away very easily. And we've got a nice clean hot bottom there. And any little bits of silicone that did get underneath, I can just trim off. Now I find it easiest to do that before I take it out the mould, because you've got a nice edge to work to, so it gives like a nice clean finish. So there we go, it's got a nice clean bottom. Nice clean bottom. You always want a nice clean bottom, don't you? Yes, anyway, where was I? Now I think the easiest way to take these off will be from this side. It's getting it started, that's the problem. There we are. You can see there's just these little bits between the layers. Not a lot. You can trim those off if you want. And a lot of this excess just pulls off anyway. Da, da, da. There we are. Woohoo! Okay, that went lopsided, but it doesn't matter. It's done its job. It's made it easier to demold. Now, it is a little bit thin around the sides because I went so particularly close in trying to minimise my use of silicone. But that's worked because that's meant that I can actually turn it inside out, which is really good for cleaning and things. Right, and our second one. Still trimming bits off this. Look, just go. This is what I meant about the cuticle thing. It's a little blade in a V. They were just something I'd got in my nail art kit from when I used to do that sort of thing. I really can't be bothered with my nails now. I don't have time for it, so I get someone else to do it. I did actually film this red manicure being done. So I'll have to do a bit of editing and get that out there for you, won't I? Because people seemed interested. Right, so what we've got here is there's a little bit of the silicone has got underneath the little pot, but if we go around with a little knife, You should be able to pull that away. If not, it'll probably just come away the first time we use it anyway, to be honest. What I have ended up with is a bit of a wrinkly bottom on this. This is where something like transfer tape would have been better, or just gluing it down. But I just wanted to show you an alternative, and it's something that we might already have in our craft kit. Whereas transfer tape, unless you like got a Cricut machine and things like that, or something like that, you probably wouldn't have it. I'm trying to think really. What I'm going to do is chuck some Eco-Pour in both of these, but what I'll do is let them breathe for a while first. Now, you're meant to leave them a couple of days before you go ahead and use them. Having said that, it's seriously hot in my craft room, so they will be definitely ready by then. I have been known to actually just go straight for it and chuck resin in them. I had any ill effects, but it's not what you're supposed to do, so let's do it properly. See how soft the silicone is. Isn't that lovely? And I think that's a pretty neat looking mould. Yeah, we could do a little bit more trimming around the edges, like so. Guess some little scissors might even work, mightn't it? But yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? Right, I'm going to leave them to breathe, and we'll be back in a couple of days to actually test them, and we'll see how they work. Right, let's give it a go then. It's been a couple of days, and we should be well and truly cured. So I'm going to mix up some Eco-Pour, and I can't find my proper metal tray. Well, at least not a clean one. So I normally mix it up in a metal bowl and use like a little mini food whisk. But yeah, we're making do with an old cottage. I think this is cottage cheese potted, something like that, isn't it? I'm mixing it up with a fork because I find that better than just a normal stirring stick. You can get right down into the corners. I could use one of my proper whisks, but that wouldn't get down into the corners. That's why I normally use a metal bowl, because it will in a bowl. And I'm planning to mix this reasonably thick because I want to marble it. I don't know whether this is too runny to marble now. Not sure. We'll give it a try, shall we? Eco-Pour's wonderful stuff. It's very forgiving. If you make it too runny, it won't marble. I think that might be okay, actually. That's pretty thick. We'll soon find out, won't we? Now, we're just going to squirt in. This colour is called Blue Lagoon, and it is from Homeware Designs. So there's a nice big squirt, and we're just going to go like so. And that's it. Lovely colour. Now, obviously, these are new moulds. I've absolutely no idea how much Eco-Pour it's going to use. But that's getting near to the top, so we're going to give it a bash before it gets right to the top. And because we made it hollow in the bottom, we can do that as well. That's just squeezing it. That's just making sure we haven't got any bubbles trapped around the bottom edge. And I can see I am going to have to make some more up for this one. So this is probably just going to end up all blue because I've used the same pot. So it probably won't be much marbling in this one. We can try. Just so we can test the moulds out, that's all. So I hope you're finding this video helpful, actually, because people do keep asking me for, you know, what questions about making moulds and what silicone to use, and are these mould frames worth it, and all that sort of thing. And really, that's what I was hoping to help you with here. And some little tips. Main tips we've had here: how to stop your pieces that you put in to take the mould from floating. What to do if you can't find a mould forming thing, you know, a pot of some sort, or some cardboard, or whatever it is you want to make your mould frame with. If you want a nice simple frame that you can just commercially buy easily, this is how to do it. Hopefully we've covered another way of sticking them down, sticking your frame down. We've talked about how to layer up if you're doing a taller one and you want to use one of these mould frames. And hopefully we've had a look at what my preference for the mould frames is, because although, you know, there's nothing wrong with that green and very slightly cheaper one, I'm talking very slightly, my preference is definitely spend the extra couple of pounds. And I've looked at how to make sure it's sealed, i.e. put a layer in first, wait to make sure no silicone comes out, and then pour your silicone. We've looked at what silicone to use. We've looked at a way of saving silicone by getting the right size mould form around it. And we have talked about putting a bung in the middle of the base to make it easier to demould afterwards. So written on this scruffy scrap of card are the things that I was trying to cover off today in today's video, so I hope this helps. My verdict on which mould frame: definitely go for the Let's Resin or the Nik Pro one. They're basically the same. My preference is just towards the Let's Resin one, simply because I find their service exceptionally good. Nik Pro are probably also great. I just don't really have any experience of their customer service, but both very, very good mould frames, practically well, they are identical, just got a different name stamped on them, so both very, very good. The green frame that I did this one with, good if you want to go up layers because it's got that top and bottom lip on it, but the seal isn't as good. Personally, I would go for the Let's Resin or Nik Pro ones instead if it was me. Now, the next question I got asked was, how do I go taller? Well, I hope this has answered it. Obviously, with a cheaper, only very slightly cheaper green frame, because it had got that top and bottom on it, you could go taller. You can stack them more easily, but the seals aren't so good. So, the Let's Resin and Nik Pro one don't have that top and bottom lip. There's my spacers, because those are also a layer adapter. So, and as you can see, that's worked totally fine. So that's how you go taller. And the in-between sizes comes back to my little spacer pieces. It drove me insane that I couldn't find just a yoghurt pot or whatever, the right size pot to do this in myself. I didn't want to mess around with card or bits of wood or whatever to make the frame. I just wanted a thing that just did it. And when I got those frames, I thought, gosh, they're wonderful. But, it's either too big or too small. I can't get the in-between size. Those pieces, I hope, solve that problem. So I hope this video is being helpful so far. Obviously, we'll be demoulding these soon. It's eco-pour, so it'll only take half an hour or so to cure. I will leave it longer just to be on the safe side, because even though it's a hot day in here, I want to make sure these are firmed up nicely. Don't forget, most of the, well, in fact, I think, as far as I know, all of the eco-casting powder compound things of all brands, they do vary in many ways, but the one thing they do all, as far as I know, have in common is that, yes, you can demold them very quickly, half an hour to an hour, something like that, 20 minutes in some cases, but they do not get their full strength for a couple of days. And also, if you're going to seal them, I would let that moisture, the final bits of moisture, come out of them for at least a day, maybe 2 days, before you put a wax seal or a paint on, acrylic seal or whatever onto them. So there's no point in testing their strength and thinking, oh, they're a bit delicate, after a couple of hours. Full strength at a couple of days. I'll see you in about an hour. If you're finding this video helpful and would like to see more like this, then please do subscribe. That is, of course, completely free, and it will let you know automatically, if you hit the notification button as well, when I've got another helpful video coming out for you. So buttons for all that stuff are down here, so just, click things. That'd be great. And of course, if by the end of this video you found you've got some value from it, if you give me a thumbs up as well, that would be awesome. So while I'm here, I just want to say thank you as well to my channel members. Thank you for your extra support, and also to everybody who's bought me a coffee or sent me a super thanks in these last few weeks. Trust me, I've really, really appreciated that. So thank you all. Let's demold then. This one should be the easiest. Let's see if it's worked. I seem to have dyed my silicone slightly blue. Not that that matters. Oh, yes, it's worked. Yeah, my colours are a bit crap. Technical term there, but that doesn't matter. I was just testing to see whether it worked. So that is how you do awkward shapes that are, you've got a lip around the edge and they've got your shape in the centre. And yeah, and get just the right size you need using a mould frame. Right, this one's going to be interesting. Let's see how easy to demold this is. It should be okay because of the hole in the centre and because the silicone is only relatively thin around the sides. Yep. Oh, reasonable marbling considering I just chucked it in. Okay. Oh, the centre just came straight out. I was going to show you, if you get the centre stuck, Just been a random bit of silicone left loose in there. If you get the centre of a pot stuck and you try and demould it, just twist it as you're pulling it out. There we go. So we have got 2 pots, 2 pot moulds, which will work for resin as well, of course. It's just that it will have a satin finish rather than a shiny finish, because the originals that we took the mould from were satin. I think that's really nice. And this would be if I got the colours, you know, half decent with the Eco Pour. So I'm off to wash my little mould, and I'll probably just lightly sand the bottoms of these, and when it's cured, so once the moisture's thoroughly gone out of these, I will be probably either waxing or coating them with something. So I will see you for the next video, folks. If you found this helpful, will you let me know? Because I can, you know, I do a lot of mould making. More than happy to show you what I do and the materials I use. So just shout if there's anything in particular you'd like to see me do. Let me know. If you give me a thumbs up, that would be awesome. And thank you so much to those of you who subscribe. Subscribing, of course, is free. Just see all these buttons down here. Just click things. That'd be great. Thank you. Bye.